Hello. I am so excited to have a very special guest with me this evening. A good friend, a former colleague, a historian that I feel from Union City. He knows so much about Union City, and I'm just excited to just chat and catch up with him. So I would like to introduce to you Mr. Rick Clear. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, it's great to be here. You mean me? I was
Yes.
excited to see who your guest was going to be here. So,
No, definitely you. So I've been looking forward to this conversation because um, Rick and I met many, many years ago when I was hired on as a teacher at Union City, and you were already there working alongside the wonderful John Schmidt. And we'll talk about that this evening. But you are a graduate in the 1970s. What actual year did you graduate?
72,
The
1972. Yep.
1972 from when it was called Union City Community High School back then,
Yes.
way
Yes.
back then, right? Yeah. So, what I'd like to talk to you about first is just some memories of your time as a student and as a resident of Union City, and just what school was like back then, and how you became involved with the KISS program. And so just kind of take us back to 1972-ish and that time in Union City.
Okay. Golly, 1972. Well, growing up in Union City, any way you put it, you and Bill and all of us know that it was a neat time to grow
Hmm.
up. 20-year, 25-year period there, so neat. The industry that we had, all of the local people were so you were just involved in the community. We didn't even
Hmm.
have malls or shopping centers to go to when I was young. You just
Hmm.
stayed and shopped in Union City and
Hmm.
occasionally went to Muncie or Richmond or wherever. But the high school was so much fun when we were in school.
Hmm.
We went out to the high school when we were in the eighth grade at that time. So we
Okay.
kind of got to look in on the high schoolers and see what they were doing. But it was a fun time because I can't, I don't know that I know how to explain it. The teachers that we had been there forever, but
Right.
yet they were so. And when I was in the fifth and sixth grade, that's when John Schmidt and Ted Leahy came. And
Okay.
they kind of changed the whole face of what we did. When John Schmidt first came, he was a phys ed teacher. And he
Oh,
actually
really? I didn't
introduced the
realize that.
yes. And
Huh.
he was up at West Side. We were all up at West Side. And this would have been fifth and sixth grades. And he actually introduced the gymnastics part, the trampoline and the saw. Didn't have anything like that before that.
Uh-huh.
And so that was fun. And of course, Ted came on I think a year before him, and it was just, his artistic ability. It was something that we all latched on to. So there
Yes.
was that extra part of school. And then when we went out to the high school, they followed us out there.
Right.
And so, that was so much fun. And I always said that John and Ted and a lot of our other teachers, you included, always had the idea that trying something new was not impossible at all. Think
Right.
think of the big thing we can do, and then maybe we have to narrow it down to what we've got to work with, but it will work just like the big idea. And then
Yes.
things always grew from there.
Sure.
So being at Union City Community High School was so much fun.
Hmm.
And then to get to come back and work there. The year I graduated was the year the cable company said, well, if you want to bring some shows down and put them on, you can. Now, I was a senior. John Schmidt had juniors that did
Hmm.
that.
Uh-huh.
And I remember they came in and recorded our chorus class for a program.
Uh-huh.
And it was so much fun we didn't have cable TV then, but so this would have been the spring of 1972. I went down to my grandparents' house to watch us in black and white.
Uh-huh.
And it was almost embarrassing. We were on TV right next to the other channel. So it was so much fun. And I already knew I wanted to kind of study television and communications.
Right.
So, it was just something. I went to IU then and
Yes.
opened up a newspaper. We could go into the union and grab our local newspapers and went in and read about this donation that the body company had made. And there on the front page was Bill Augsburger giving a
Mhm.
check to John Schmidt to start this first group of production equipment.
Wow. And that was in
It's
the
just,
Indiana University newspaper?
it was no, in the student union,
In the
they
student
had a
union.
little
Okay.
cubby hole where we could go and pick up
Yes.
our local newspapers.
Yes. Okay.
And I pulled out our local newspaper and saw that
Gotcha.
on the front page. Well,
Uh-huh.
I was so excited. I wrote John Schmidt. I think I wrote our principal, it might have been Kenny Ayers at that time. And then I wrote a letter to Bill Alsberger as well.
Hmm.
Because and I don't
Hmm.
even know how shy. I was very introverted. Why I would do that, but I was so excited. So on every vacation, I had to come back. And then I
Uh-huh.
came up to Ball State and was able to come actually and work at KISS with John as an instructional aide. And then
Hmm.
finally, Dr. Bennett, they said one day, we tried for 2 years to get me hired there and it never worked.
Really?
And then Dr. Bennett said yes. So I came on a half day and
Hmm.
started working. And the fun part of all that is that I remember that Dr. Bennett told me in his office, he said, now we want to try to make this something special, KISS TV. We want to make it something special because this is kind of our baby. So we need to treat it well.
Right.
And just before as I was getting ready to retire, Dr. Bennett was in his 80s and he come back to Union City to Wesley
Hmm.
United Methodist Church. And I was playing keyboard at the thing.
Hmm.
And as soon as the service was over, I saw Dr. Bennett coming up. And he said, I hear you're getting ready to retire. And I said, yes, I am. He said, how long? I said, 33 years. And he said, well, our baby really grew up well, didn't it?
Oh,
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. That was
wow.
just the greatest thing in the whole world. But, all of that KISS TV, we did things no one else in any public access would think of doing,
Yes. Yes. And
just because you would think you couldn't.
right. I love the idea of what you were talking about is, both John and Ted always thought big, like, let's think big. I mean, who would have ever thought John would think, let's just start something like let's see what happens. Because wasn't it filmed like in his classroom in the beginning or something? Like,
Well,
yeah,
originally on the stage,
on the
it's
stage.
on the
Hmm.
stage, and you had to be careful during practices because it was too noisy, or something.
Hmm.
But then they were
Hmm.
able to move it down to his classroom in the back of the theater.
Right, right. Oh, wow. So tell me about, if you can think back on some of the biggest moments in KISS as a teacher of KISS, some of the programs that you did. What are some of the events that you filmed that you're particularly proud of that when you look back on, you're like, wow, we did a really great job with that.
There were lots of them.
Uh-huh.
For almost 30 years, we did a nightly half-hour newscast with the students.
Hmm.
We would divide the classes up so they had maybe a Monday night and a Wednesday night and a Tuesday and a
Hmm.
Thursday night. So Monday through
Yes.
Thursday, we did half-hour newscasts. And that is where one of the things came in that a lot of people said you shouldn't be doing. That is, we had special parental permission that our students could go out during class to interview the mayor or
Hmm.
get a story or film potholes or do anything like that. So
Right,
the
right.
news was a big one. Another big one was that in the early days, it was open, I believe, to the top when I first came, it was open to about 10 or 20% of the junior senior class.
Okay.
And we immediately found that students who maybe weren't achieving that found lots of things to do in KISS, whether it was
Sure.
building sets or just, whatever it would be. They just wanted
Hmm.
to be there because it was so much fun. So it
Right.
was a thing that we always did, you can't
Hmm.
be really failing any class and be in the studio. You need to keep
Right,
your grades up.
right.
So I think that really helped, just like
Yes.
athletics helps students keep their grades up.
Exactly, exactly. I think it provided an outlet for some of those kids who, had they not had that opportunity for KISS, would never have realized a potential that they might have had within themselves, whether it is set building or whether it's being a talent or it's being a director, floor director, or running the camera, all those jobs that are involved.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I know you've had students who went through the KISS program and went on into telecommunications. Am I right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you need to interview a couple of those. I would love to see you interview Mara Mo.
Yes.
Mara,
Yeah.
what's her last name now?
Moat. Well, Moat then. It's
I see it on Facebook all the
yeah,
time
it starts with an L, I believe. Yeah.
because she's
Uh-huh.
done so much. But we've had several
Yes.
students go on, but that was never the direction of the program. The program was if you wanted to go in that, you're going to get a head start here because you're going
Hmm.
to actually be going interviewing people and all of that. But it was a thing. students come in, if they could go down and interview the mayor.
Hmm.
Well, you get used to doing that kind of thing. You can go to any kind of an interview and do better, or just being involved with the community,
Yes,
which is
yes.
what John and Ted and a lot of others and you have done
Hmm.
too.
Hmm.
Is to be involved in community events, to get
Yes.
out. And you learn how much fun that can be.
Oh, and I think learning doesn't have to take place in the walls of your classroom. Some of the best lessons take place outside of those four walls, out in the community. And that's the school is very much doing that right now with their Workforce Wednesday programs and all of the fun things that the kids are doing with projects. And we actually have a group that, and you probably have seen it on Facebook, but they've revamped a school bus into an RV, and they're
That's
leaving Tuesday to go out west. I just
See,
think that's
isn't
wonderful.
that another one of those impossible things? No, you can't do that. You could never get
Exactly.
it done. You couldn't build it. You'd never want to take students cross country. Well,
Yes.
it's
Here we
happening.
go.
It's done, and they're doing
Exactly.
it. You know,
The play, yep, and the playground paradise. They're working hard on that to raise money for new playground equipment at Harder Park. So, lots of great things still happening at Union City.
let me tell you two other things that I was really proud of over the
Yes,
years at
yes,
school.
please do.
One, of course, we rarely ever missed doing a live sporting event,
Hmm.
basketball and football. We rarely missed any basketball and football games. Um, but that was one great thing I thought we always did. And that's a lot of years of basketball,
Yes.
football games, and
Oh,
wrestling,
yes.
and girls basketball and volleyball. But the other thing is, we became a vocational program shortly after John Schmidt retired, about 10 years before I did. But even before that, we became a vocational program, and that's where I got my teaching license to take that part of the program. So we had
Hmm.
students from Winchester and over the years, Randolph Southern and Monroe Central and the Seminole Valley. But we had one year 5 students from Winchester,
Hmm.
and they were a lot of fun, and they were all athletes, except we had one girl, she wasn't, but all the guys were athletes. So they would play against each other. We thought, oh, how this is going to work out. Well, it was fun.
Right.
They were
Sure,
smart
sure.
and handled everything like that.
Uh-huh.
But they decided and they arranged it with their school that when they were over here for our 2 hour period, we were 2 hours then, almost 2 hours, first two periods, they could do their announcements as well and take them back to be played. So that all got organized. And I told them the first time we were doing this, the guys were planning this, you can have your own set. Do we need to make a Falcons thing here so that you can have that in the background? I loved what they told me. They
Uh-huh.
said, no, this is KISS TV. We're all KISS TV.
Oh,
And so they wanted the KISS TV,
yes.
on that at
Very
Winchester.
proud of that, to be a part of that. Hmm.
So it really became this bigger thing at that
Yes,
point. So that
yes.
was just cool. That was just
Yes,
cool.
that's wonderful. One of the things I personally remember growing up is you and John would do a Saturday morning trivia show in the window of the Kirschbaum building.
Yep.
And I was a, youngster then, 10, 11 years old. And I remember trying to call in at 964-4026. I still remember the phone number, and
Yep.
trying to win a Diet Coke or something, answering that trivia question. And that is a very fond memory that I have of the KISS program. So it even resonates to people at Mississinawa, and or calling in when you would do your radio shows. You do that, the radio shows too, some of the kids would before school, and wanting to call in to hear your favorite song. And so I think what you and John did for all of those years has caused a lot of us to have those fond memories. And then when I became a colleague of yours for all of those years, I definitely saw firsthand a lot of the great things that you did at Union City. So thank
And
you for
but there
those
was,
memories.
oh golly, and
Yeah.
you were, boy, were you a part of all that? And didn't we have fun?
Oh,
Isn't that
definitely.
part of it?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Yes, just so
hard
much
work,
fun.
stressful work. We were in trouble all the time with some administrator, but we had fun, and it
Yes.
worked.
Yes, I think you even sent a group of boys. I think it might have been like around Brad Hoggett's era, Michael Wantz. Like you sent a group and allowed them to go film down in Cincinnati, maybe like follow the Cincinnati Reds, or, I remember it, just allowing kids to think big,
Yep.
These kids come to you with an idea that they would want to do something on that grand scale. And you and John encouraged that. You didn't squash it and say, no, there's no way we can do that. You would always try to figure out a way to make it happen.
And I remember that particular time. Brian Bousman, Joel Miller, Michael Wantz, the whole crew. And, that was a dumb idea we thought wouldn't work. This is not going to go.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? It did. And they made it happen.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we could help direct them and say, now, you kind of want to approach this like this or like this
Hmm.
and let them
Hmm.
know any input that they have would be great.
Right.
And they did it. They made it
Yes, they
happen.
did. They did.
Yeah.
And I think you were probably the innovators of student led learning. You allowed them to come up with ideas and facilitated those ideas for them, but allowed them the freedom to make those decisions.
Let me go back to the very beginning of that. And this is
Mhm.
something, speaking of innovation, that John did in his class. KISS stands for cable with a K
Mhm.
because the cable company, Cypress Cable, spelled cable with a K. The
Uh-huh.
rest of it is Independent Study Seminar. And John had a class when we were in high school called Independent Study.
Mhm.
So, it was something new to do.
Right.
You would meet as a group on Monday and you would have all these assignments, reading materials, handouts, everything to work on. We had an independent study area that you could go to with all the resources. You'd work on your own on
Mhm.
things or
Mhm.
within groups on things. And then you come back on a Friday, then you might have an exam or give presentations or whatever. So that was called
Right.
independent study.
Mhm.
So there was no television course category to give
Mhm.
students credit. So there was one in current events. And so they called the class current events. It was seminar.
Mhm.
And so that's where KISS grew out of, that independent study seminar class. So it's Cable Independent Study Seminar.
Great. I
Yeah.
love that. And here we are in 2025, and KISS is still thriving. We have, the new studio at Vision Corner, plus the studio at the high school. So I hope that you feel very proud of your time at Union City and the impact that you had on all of those students. And to see that it is still flourishing today, that's something to be very proud of.
I do. I'm proud of that. But let me tell you how Union City should be proud of that in another
Yes.
way.
Yes.
When I moved to Atlanta, Atlanta used to have a tremendous public access channel called People TV. Their budget was over $1 million a year. I came here, I thought, well, I can go volunteer. Well, it had just dwindled and dwindled, but the city still supported it, but not with much money. And I kept going with some people to city council. Hey, this could be better. This could be great.
Mm-hmm.
And expressed those opinions a lot to different council people. One of those council people now is the mayor of Atlanta. And
Oh.
they reinitiated that under a community media thing. And he started what he called the Blue Ribbon Committee for Community Media, 9 people. And he asked me if I would be on that. Now, all of these people were presidents of university, some in TV. I mean, I wondered what I was doing there. But as it ended up in our conversations in our committees, that they were asking me questions, but I kind of say, well, we used to do this and this worked out, or we always wanted to try this. And then they would come back and started asking me questions about
Mm-hmm.
things.
I
And
love
it
that.
was because of our experience of what we did. Not
Yes,
me,
yes.
yeah, what we did.
And you say, well, I don't understand why they wanted me on this or whatever. I can see that why they wanted you. Your wealth of knowledge and your expertise that you could bring to the table is immense, and it's so invaluable that I could definitely see why they wanted you to be a part of that.
Anyway, but that's not me's not important. But the thing is, the committee
Hmm.
completed its work, and there's a direction for that now that's in the
Hmm.
hands of the city council for I think a $650,000 a year budget, and
Hmm.
so that's
That's
moving forward.
That's
So,
great. That's
and a
great. I
lot of
love
what
that.
good.
they're doing there came from things that Union City would have had to contribute. Yep.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So I want to kind of transition now and talk to you a little bit about. So you retired in what year from Union City?
Spring of 2011.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
2011.
14 years coming up.
Yeah, wow, wow.
Yep.
So what intrigued you? Because obviously Union City and Atlanta, Georgia are on opposite ends of the continuum in terms of size and scope and everything. But what attracted you to making that life change of leaving Union City and coming to Atlanta. And then I want to, so tell me that first, and then I want to talk to you about what you're doing today.
I love Union City. Okay.
Hmm.
So nothing would have ever driven me out of Union City. There's just
Hmm.
no way I would ever move anywhere else.
Right.
Never entered my mind. Um, but I was invited to come down by some friends. Well, I didn't have anything to do. Okay, I'm retired. Let's go. So I
Hmm.
came down. And one of the things I did when I was here was take a tour of CNN, their
Uh-huh.
CNN, their national office.
Yes, I've done that before. It's
You've done that
fascinating.
before. Well,
Hmm.
when I did it, there was this lady, not as old as I am, but pretty close, taking us on the tour. And all the way through the tour, I wanted to add things when she was talking about the green screen or the newsroom or what those men were doing over there, doing a production, yet part of it was coming from New York City. And I just, well, we should have added this. And I
Yes.
left kind of frustrated. And so I wrote a couple of letters and I was invited to come down and see if I would like to do that. So I did it. And then I came down for a week and did that.
Hmm.
And then I came down and did it. That lasted about a month. And then a friend said, I can hear what you're doing. Would you like to come and do video and audio conferencing at Emory University um, Conference Center, which is right across a hotel right across the street from the CDC here in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
So I went and I did that, and that was fun. It was stressful, and it became more stressful after about 8 months when the director, he just didn't show up for work one day. And
Oh.
evidently there was a little problem going on. And
Hmm.
so because I was the older guy, they said, well, could you go to this meeting with the whole, food catering and all that, just so everybody's connected. And then you do this. So I picked up his things for a little bit and ended up one night sleeping over there
Oh.
because there was no time to go home and be back at 5 a.m. for whatever was going on. And they did a
Hmm.
lot of work with the CDC. So long story very short, the second time I had to stay overnight, I just said, I really enjoyed this, but I didn't want to do that. So then
Right.
I started working with Corvettes, and I still do that today. I work
So what do you
civil.
do with the Corvettes? You drive them around? No, you film them. I know you do.
No, I do not. But
Okay.
I do their videos for a place here in Atlanta called Biovet that sells about 45 classic Corvettes a month.
Whoa.
And I do all the videos that are, sales videos showing the car. I show the car. I do the voiceovers and edit little 2, 3 minute videos
Are those
together. So
online that I could take a look at sometime?
yes,
I would love to look at those.
It's called biovet.net.
Okay.
And the reason it's called .net is because they have a huge um, national and international. You can buy online. And one of the taglines I always use, you can buy online with ease and with confidence at buyavit.net. Because
Ooh.
you can. They really
Yes.
make buying online something you do. So they ship
Uh-huh.
cars out, all the time.
Probably all over the world then if you can just buy them online. Hmm.
Yep. Yep, they
Hmm.
do. So that just led to me doing all kinds of freelance stuff. And then as a part of the public access people I met a retired newscaster from Channel 11. He was working for the SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which was Martin Luther King's original civil rights organization that they
Uh-huh.
passed the civil rights amendments and everything from. So I began working every week for the president there, and I'd go
Mhm.
in. And still today, I sit while I'm waiting, I sit at the head end of the conference table at the seat Martin Luther King always sat at.
Oh,
And
Rick,
so
wow,
through
that
that,
is amazing.
it's just so neat. And through that, I met all the older civil rights leaders. And now I do work for former Ambassador Andrew Young, who
Uh-huh.
was a UN ambassador under Jimmy Carter. And we just did a thing with him last week. And we're shooting a series of people talking about him for a huge banquet, a $10,000 table banquet at the High Museum here, honoring him for his years. And I just got the list of people. One of those people, we do, I've kind of made a business out of doing things like we're doing on Zoom,
Uh-huh.
doing news stories and stuff with anchors and people they want to interview, like Zoom, but it's a really high end system that I have.
Right. Uh-huh.
So it's a broadcast quality. So we do that. And we're going to use that for this particular thing. And one of the people on the list is Oprah Winfrey. So that's going to be
You're,
exciting. And there are
you're
other
gonna
great people on
you're
there.
gonna get to talk to
Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
I won't talk to her. I will
Oh,
be making it happen between
making
who's
it happen.
interviewing.
Okay. But
So
even to be in that just to be in that space. to
Yeah.
experience that
Yeah.
is
And
amazing.
I don't, I never post those things. I think I posted a picture of Andrew Young last week,
I think, yeah.
but I don't do that a lot because I think some people are really don't like that too well. And
Oh,
so I don't do much of
hmm
that, but we did meet a
hmm
lot of people and do a lot of things.
hmm
But that's not, again, that's not about me. That's about, my goodness, you know, who would have thought? And here I am almost 72 years old and it's getting
yeah.
better all the time.
See, that's what I love about just like following your journey because, I'm newly retired. And one of the things that I personally want to try to do is like the second chapter. I want to do all of these cool new things in life that maybe I haven't had an opportunity to do. And you, my friend, are the epitome of that. I love seeing all the different things and it's just going to show you that if you retire, it's not the stereotypical, oh, I'm just going to sit around and eat bonbons all day or what, I'm going to live life and meet new people. And so I love that you're sharing all of this because I think it's important for people to see that just because you retire from a job doesn't mean that you're done. It's the second chapter and you're just beginning new adventures. I
Well,
love that.
as you can see with me, I do eat bonbons all day long. So I'm out there working at the same time, but I love it. I realize that in a short number of years, I may be in my wheelchair or I may not be able to do things, but I certainly love every minute of,
hmm
what's happening now. And everything that I do, you may think, oh, that's, you just whatever with it, but it's all come from that same thing that John and Ted
hmm
always taught us. Just go get involved in something, go to something, go to some meeting. If you may not be interested in what it is, but go anyway, because there might be some interesting people there. And
Right.
that's 100% of how everything's worked here. Other than that, it just happens to be you're in a big city
Sure.
where
Sure.
you can do that. But
Yeah.
being in a big city does not stop you from being able to achieve any of that,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things. It's just
No.
being there, being there,
Right.
making connections.
Yeah. And I love that those lessons that you learned as a teenager are you still are practicing those things, into your
Yeah.
early 70s.
Well,
So
a couple of years after I'd been here, I was actually outside of Whitestone Computers, and Blake Clevenger was there. We were talking, and
mhm.
another citizen came up and was saying, "Oh, I see you're doing this that way. Boy, don't you wish you would have went there a long time ago?" My answer was fast. I didn't have an answer, but it was fast. No, because
No.
I couldn't do anything I'm doing if I had
Mm,
not spent the
right.
entire career there in Union
Yes.
City. Yeah.
Yes. So what advice would you give to a student or a young adult, perhaps watching this in terms of um, making the most of their time in school and or maybe trying to make decisions in their adult life? What sort of advice would you give someone that possibly might be searching for the next great adventure in their life?
Well, I guess what we just talked about, you never know where life's going to lead you, first of all.
hmm
So be open to whatever. But I
hmm
think the biggest thing would be what we just talked about in terms of get involved in things. Not just in school and then go home and, be involved in basketball or whatever, but find some community things. And you can do that, I'm sure, still through the teachers. I'm sure there are lots of activities that Union City High School has that
Yes.
students can get involved in and be out there. And because it was always fun. That's the
hmm
great thing about it. When you with a group of people and you're working on something, even if you're like in the spring when they go out and clean up some things around town, it's still
Yes.
fun if
Oh,
you're working there.
definitely.
But just be involved, experience some of those new things in Union City. You don't have to go somewhere else to do it.
No, and
Experience
I
it.
think you're so right. Union City has so much to offer. It really does. Not just the school itself, but um, the community. Some of the organizations in town, offer opportunities for the youth to get involved and young adults. And I think it's super important for people to realize that they can have fun in their own hometown. They can get involved in their own hometown.
Yeah, yeah, so
Um,
important. And I would say students have ideas for things that should happen in Union City. Talk to one of your teachers about it
mhm.
because there might be some way your teachers have a way of knowing what can be done and maybe how to make your ideas happen because I always thought our students had wonderful ideas for things.
Yes,
They
yes.
did. was endless, things
Right.
we had never thought of. And we
Yes.
were always kind of able to help make those things happen.
Yeah. Student voice, student choice. Definitely, I
That's
think
right.
important in
That's
education
right.
for sure. So, well, our time is almost up, Rick, but I just want to thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me this evening and catching up and sharing about your life and your time in Union City. Personally, I'm so grateful to have been able to work with you for all of those years and be a part of some of the fun in the KISS program as far as like helping out with skits for pep sessions and different things like that.
It was always so much fun. And let me say, probably, I still have my house in Union City.
Uh-huh.
And so, I know one of these days I'll be back probably about
Yes.
two
Yes.
years. Gosh, time goes too fast when you get old.
Yes.
But the other thing is, I am so really proud of course, KISS TV.
Hmm.
And I don't know at all the new instructor you have, but I see him doing interviews and talking with students and all of that. So I just think it's wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what Union City is all about. And we have our
Yeah.
DECA program and all the others. I just happen to know,
Right.
the TV programs. So it's just like a lot of those other programs. It
Hmm.
really makes a difference in the life of the
Yes.
community, not just the school, but the community. And
Exactly.
I have a mission for you. Okay.
Okay. What is that? Uh-huh.
I haven't been back to see Vision Corner. So I would love to see a tour of the Vision Corner, DECA and the studio and the control room and zoom in on the equipment because I want to see
Oh,
the equipment. Okay. Right.
yes.
So
Yes. Well, Bill and I, we go up there occasionally to film some content for the Educational Foundation. And I can attest that that equipment is state of the art. It's very nice. And um, I'm getting pretty good at reading off a teleprompter. I did
oh,
that.
that's great.
I did that in college because I had some telecommunications classes, but I have to have them make the print a little bit larger than probably I had to when I was in college to be able to read it, but slow it down a little bit. But I enjoy doing that up there. And Vision Corner and Jesus and Phil, they've been wonderful to partner with to help us out with our video content that we're making for the foundation. But yes, I'll make sure, even if I have to do it on my cell phone, walk through there and make you a little video, I will do that
Okay.
for you.
I would love that. I would love
Yes.
that.
So once
Yeah.
again, thank you, Rick. Appreciate your time and thank you for being a valuable member of our alumni at Union City and a community member, a valued community member of Union City, always, even though you're in Atlanta.
It's been fun. Thank you,
Yep.
Melissa.
Very good.
Thank
Enjoyed it.
you. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Thank you, Rick.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Oh, there we go.